The terms of the government's unprecedented plea deal with the first son. The questions now that are being raised, were prosecutors caught giving the president's son a pass? I want to bring in former assistant U.S. attorney and criminal defense attorney David Katz, also joining us, civil litigator and constitutional lawyer Bruce DeValle, and we have our special guest for the rest of the program, our distinguished professor at Touro University and Newsmax contributor Thane Rosenbaum. Panel, great to have you here. Great to have these incredible legal minds to break down so many different cases. We're not just breaking down Hunter Biden, but also the looming Trump indictment out of a federal court in Washington, D.C. But let's begin here. David, when both the DOJ and Hunter Biden's legal team arrived in court on Wednesday, they thought that this was a done deal. But the judge issued this statement saying, it seems to me like you are just saying that the rubber stamp, the agreement, Your Honor, this seems to me to be form over substance. What happened here? Break down how this fell apart.
Well, I think it blew up for two reasons. Number one is there had not been transparency. It had not been disclosed so that the public could comment on it, which is normal, that a plea agreement would be filed, people could comment on it, it would be a public record. This one, when the judge finally saw it and other people had not, except the two, the Department of Justice official that is there in Delaware, they say left over from Trump, but, very much approved by Biden for that that U.S. attorney job. When the judge saw it, she saw two different problems, and they really couldn't be explained well in front of her by the parties. Number one was it looked like he was going to get some kind of immunity shield. The idea was they wanted her to accept the sentence and impose no jail time and accept the two misdemeanors. In exchange for that, it looked like the defense attorneys had gotten language that immunized Hunter Biden from not just the taxes and not paying the taxes, but all the conduct that led up to not paying the taxes. That would have been exactly what the House Republicans want to investigate: lobbying, influence peddling, that sort of thing. So at first they tried to actually insist on that, Kilnani. But what happened was that the judge said, wait a second, you're getting that much immunity in exchange for two misdemeanors and no jail time? And as I say, the defense attorney actually pushed ahead, but then it became clear in court that no, there was no such immunity shield. So by then she was already dubious. And then on top of that, she was supposed to sort of be the almost prosecuting official on any faults in the diversion plan. So she said, wait a second, that's maybe something probation does. That's something the executive branch does, but that's not something the judge on the case does. I'm not both the judge and the prosecutor if there's some problem with the diversion. And so she said, you folks are going to have to come back. They canceled the Biden press conference that was set for afterwards. It was, I guess, going to be the triumphalist press conference.
Let me jump in and ask this. Bruce, how much do you think of this was the judge realizing that this was a bad deal? And was there any role that House Republicans played in this, given the fact that Jason Smith with the House Ways and Means Committee had submitted something to the judge on the eve of that appearance, saying, consider this evidence, consider this whistleblower testimony that in this investigation, investigators haven't been able to do their jobs?
That is a great question. I think it would be a little bit of speculation, but I think certainly the House hearing had something to do with it. But what the judge did, she's very brilliant. She saw the issue piercing through everything it was unconstitutional. The prosecution said, here, Judge, you're not signing this diversion agreement, but the diversion agreement makes you decide whether we prosecute him or not if he violates, if he doesn't play by the rules. And that's not the way you do it. That is absolutely inappropriate. It is unknown and unheard of. So the judge said, look, I cannot violate the Constitution. And what she did was she made the prosecution be put in a position to defend the accused, to defend Hunter Biden and defend the deal. And it didn't take very long for the prosecution to say, I don't think we want to do this. And, oh, by the way, we're not offering blanket immunity. And it fell apart. So the judge did the good job. They tried to do a sweet deal. They tried to get too creative and too cute. They could have done this straight up. They could have charged him. He could have pled. But they tried to get too cute and give him too much. And the judge, thank goodness, she saw right through it. She cannot be the prosecutor. She doesn't get to decide who to prosecute and who not to prosecute. So she did her job. And I do think that the pall cast over these entire proceedings by the House hearings assisted her in looking at it with increased scrutiny. Look, the prosecution was trying to do a solid for the boss's son. It didn't work. And so now they're back to the drawing board. I don't think we're going to see this come back. I don't think there will be a plea in the future. I really don't.
Thane, Hunter Biden is now pleading not guilty at this stage. This, of course, appears to be headed for trial. What happens next?
So they were given instructions to come back in 30 days. Can you guys work it out? Remember, plea bargains are contracts. 98% of all criminal cases are resolved by plea bargains. So when you watch Law and Order and you think there's a trial, that almost rarely happens. And judges usually don't do anything other than say, look, it's your contract. If you want to agree to that, that's great. But I think this judge also recognized the world was watching. This isn't just any case. This was the only case. So she started to probe more deeply into this. Now that she's probed so deeply and the entire deal has fallen apart, the question you have to ask yourself, if you're the prosecutors of the DOJ, do we want to come back with the same deal? Do we want to come back with misdemeanors? Everyone's laughing at us. The judge exposed what looked like this preferential treatment. Maybe we offer something else. Maybe we say, we're coming back, but Hunter, you're going to plead guilty to felonies. We'll recommend no jail time, but they can't be felonies. We can't come back with the misdemeanors because everyone's laughing at us. We've become an SNL sketch. And so it's possible that they'll offer something that is still significant, because what's the most important thing, Kilmeny? Don't mention that I failed to register as a foreign agent. Please don't do that. Don't let this come back to haunt my father. I'll plead guilty to anything on taxes, but leave my father alone. And I can see that happening in 30 days.
Yeah, and we also understand from the developments that came out of that court, and David, I want to ask you about this, that the Justice Department on Wednesday had revealed that Hunter Biden is part of another investigation, an active investigation rather, into potential violations of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, or FARA. And we also know that the FBI document, that FD 1023, alleging the bribery scheme between then Vice President Biden, which Hunter Biden was allegedly involved in, that the FBI has admitted that they're investigating that too, that that's part of an active investigation, even though they haven't said what. So where do you think Hunter Biden's legal woes move from here?
Well, according to the two special agents who testified in the House proceedings from the IRS, they say that there were irregularities and that they did not get cooperation from the U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C., appointed by Biden. And they also say that they didn't get cooperation from the U.S. attorney's office in the Central District of California. Now, that's where I was a federal prosecutor during the Reagan administration. And I can tell you, we didn't have any partisan agenda. The only thing we were ever told is whatever you do, make sure you could defend it on the front page of the newspaper and say why you did it. So I think both of those U.S. attorneys should take the stand in Congress, and they should explain that they didn't do anything wrong under oath, because they've been accused by two special agents from the IRS that they did do something that they say under oath, that they did not cooperate with that Delaware U.S. attorney. I think they should get on the stand and say, we did cooperate. We did exactly what we would have done with anyone else. That's what the country wants to hear. Did you do the same thing you would have done with any normal criminal target and do something different because one was the president's son? Or was this all, in fact, according to Hoyle and not partisan? That's what people want them to stand up and say. And I think they ought to say it under oath and clear the matter.
David Katz, Bruce DeValle, we appreciate you being here. Thank you.